men and women can't be friends because no man can be friends with a woman that he finds attractive. He always wants to have sex with her.
So you're saying that a man can be friends with a woman he finds unattractive?
No, you pretty much want to nail him too.
This week, Shane and I are discussing Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal in Rob Reiner and Nora Ephron's classic romantic comedy, It's When Harry Met Sally. This is Boy Party.
I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life podcasting with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Boy Party, the podcast about movies where two major stars share the screen and won over the hearts of audiences for decades to come. This week, we're discussing the beloved When Harry Met Sally... That's...
It's got that punctuation.
It does, yeah. What's that called? I feel like an idiot.
I should know that.
I feel like an idiot. What is a ... called? Is it an ellipses? Is that an ellipses? Oh, folks are going to be screaming at their phone, at their podcast.
Grammar nerds out there.
Yeah, that's an ellipsis. An ellipsis is ... When Harry Met Sally.
Ellipsis. ...
It's a real Once Upon a Time vibe.
Sure.
And it captures the timeless fairy tale vibe of this film. Welcome to Boy Party. We are discussing another great film where two icons of American cinema starred opposite one another. This week it's Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal, When Harry Met Sally, directed by Rob Reiner, written an Oscar-nominated script by Nora Ephron. Now, this has been back on the mind recently because Billy and Meg presented Best Picture at the Oscars this year. Mm-hmm. And the best thing you can say about the job they did presenting Best Picture is that nobody's talked about it since, which is a good thing. They didn't pull the winner is La La Land. They didn't pull My Eyes See Oppenheimer.
Nobody slapped anyone. Nobody kissed anyone.
Yeah, it was smooth and normal. They presented Best Picture, of course, to Nora. Mm-hmm. So I thought, let's have a little chat. What is the sort of which of our Boy Party pairs or trios that we've discussed on this podcast would be best suited to presenting Best Picture at the Oscars? So this is, I find the choice of who presents this award every year to be fascinating, right? Because you have to get sort of a certain legendary person or duo from the history of Hollywood that feels like they have the authority to announce the best film of the year.
Yeah.
Now, I've looked back at the list of who's done this over the years. Jack Nicholson has the all-time record. He has presented Best Picture 8 times, which is a bit ridiculous. At a certain point, you're getting him to do it too much. There was a point in the early to mid-2000s where he was doing it consecutive years, which I think is a bit silly. Michael Douglas has done it quite a few times. Tom Hanks has done it a few times. Spielberg has done it quite a few times. Warren Beatty's done it 4 times, including the fuck-up year and the make-up year after the fuck-up year. And Harrison Ford and Al Pacino have both done it twice. Now, at my day job, I am somewhat involved in the process of deciding who presents the Irish equivalent of this award. And the past 2 years, we've had the great Liam Cunningham do it, which effectively makes Liam Cunningham the Jack Nicholson of Ireland.
I was about to say.
A thing I will have to tell him next time I see him. And previous years, you've had people like Fionnuala Flanagan, John C. Reilly. So it's interesting when you scale it down to the Irish context, who those figures are in Ireland. And it is people like Fionnuala Flanagan and Liam Cunningham. So in terms of who we've covered in this podcast that would be good to present this award, does anyone jump to mind for you straight away? Who's still alive would be helpful.
I think you could let Matt and Ben do it.
Matt and Ben. Okay.
You have an Oscar winner there. You have
interesting, yeah.
Oscar nominees.
Yes. I like that idea.
Yeah.
They're younger than usual, but I think they have the
prestige.
They have the prestige.
They would do a good bit
they would
presenting.
Yes, they
It'd
would.
be interesting.
And on a given year, they are not typically involved with the Best Picture.
Yeah. And the only thing there is would too many people not take them seriously enough?
I know. I feel like they've presented maybe the Screenplay Award before,
have they,
which they've won, obviously.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the level that they're at. You slot them into the Screenplay category. But I think you're right. I think they'd be good. I'm looking here at some of the people we've discussed. Now, I think that...
when you say which pair would be the best, do these two need to have a lasting cultural relationship outside of just, say, a side-by-side performance 30 years ago?
Not really. If the film they were in is iconic enough, like When Harry Met Sally, bring them in and people will remember when they worked together. Like, okay, so last year when Pacino said My Eyes See Oppenheimer, he was supposed to be presenting with Michelle Pfeiffer, who starred in Scarface with him and Frankie and Johnny, but she was sick, so he did it on his own, which led to him being kind of weird and off. So like you want to like I don't consider them to be one of the most iconic pairs in Hollywood history, but it's a film people have seen. So number one suggestion I'm going to pull right here: Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke. Why can't they do that?
Oh yeah, of course.
Like surely that's possible. They're both in good health. They make public appearances and they get on great.
Is there a certain point at which each of the individual stars are too famous to be presenting Best Picture as a pair?
I don't think so. I mean, I think if Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, who are like the most famous narcissists in history, are willing to do it together, I think anyone is.
Like, would DiCaprio or someone be happy to share presenting Best Picture? Like,
maybe. I don't know.
Who's arrogant?
Okay, so Schwarzenegger and DeVito presented together last year.
I was going to say
they presented
that
shorts
was
or something.
my next.
Yeah. Redford and Jane Fonda.
No, you're taking all the ones I'm thinking of.
Okay, sorry. You go.
No, that's all three of them.
All right. Jackie Chan and Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah,
would be pretty good.
They'll probably do a Gosling Margot Robbie at some point.
They will. So it would have been nice to get. Okay, I mean, I don't think it's nice to put this man in a room with anyone. Before Ryan O'Neal died, having him and Streisand would have been nice.
Sure.
I don't think she wants to be seen with him. You could do Hanks and Denzel. Philadelphia Reunion. Their combined power would be really good. You could do...
Probably bring Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga back.
Bradley Cooper, yeah, you could bring back. I think that
the Star is Born dynamics is
maybe
fine
2028 you could do like a 10-year reunion of that, because people love them and they just have Oscar all around them.
And like two of them very well could have had an Oscar nominated film the year before or in the works.
Absolutely.
So they'll be relevant.
Unfortunately, a very likely pair to do it is probably Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds.
Oh,
that's because they keep being asked to host the show. Like, before she died, Costner and Whitney Houston would have been nice. And Kate.
Do you think they talk?
Oh, he was at her funeral. He read the eulogy at her funeral.
Oh,
they were very close. I think we discussed that on our episode. The Pulp Fiction guys presented another award together the year that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Did you know that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock? Travolta, Jackson, and Uma presented together, and they had the briefcase up on stage.
Didn't get Bruce out.
No, they didn't get Bruce out. Sad. But they
opened Tim Robbins, Morgan Freeman.
Tim Robbins, Morgan Freeman. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we haven't discussed that on the podcast, but you could get you get Firth and Jeffrey Rush, get Cruise and Fox.
All the people that remember that.
Martin film. And Kane. Ewan McGregor.
Garfield and Eisenberg.
Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman. That'd be nice.
Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman.
Robbie
Williams and Nicole Kidman.
Yes. Nicolas Cage, Laura Dern. That would be class.
Banger.
I think we found our dream answer there.
Scarlett and Adam.
But anyway, yeah. This year you had Harry and Sally themselves.
Harold and
Sallard.
Now,
this is also tied in with the fact that they did a Super Bowl commercial a few weeks earlier.
Oh, they did.
Which is really, really bad. Where they're back in the diner, the
Katz's Diner.
Famous scene in Katz's Diner, and then they cut to Hollywood's favorite young starlet, Sydney Sweeney, who delivers the "I'll have what she's having" line, and it's an ad for Uber Eats.
Oh God!
I think so. Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan have been everywhere the last couple of months, which is why we have just spent the last 7 minutes building up to discussing this movie.
I feel like when your famous characters are reverting back to doing Uber Eats Super Bowl ads, something isn't going.
It
great.
means the film has reached. Well, okay, yes, you can talk about what it means for their careers, but it means that the film has reached a level of normie icon saturation where you can turn it into an ad. And there is a very, like, to be honest, you could do that with Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. There's certain films that we discuss in this podcast that we perhaps derogatively refer to as, normie favorites.
I think this also happens when the two actors never fully shake the type that they've developed from this role.
No, not at all.
Like, this is their most iconic role, and they never became serious.
Yeah.
We were watching Billy Crystal trailer for
which one was it?
Alone or something, or
the new show on
the new
Apple?
show. Yeah,
I couldn't tell you in a million years what that's called. Is it called? It's either called Broken, Alone, Awake,
something along the lines of that. But then you pointed out to me, this is Billy Crystal finally making an attempt at a serious role.
Because all of his contemporaries have done that. You know? Robin Williams won an Oscar for Good Will Hunting. He was in Dead Poets Society. He was embraced as a serious actor. He is Billy Crystal's best friend and closest contemporary and whatever. Billy Crystal never had that opportunity because he's not as good of an actor as Robin Williams, and he was never quite as big of a star. That show was called Before, by the way.
Before.
But Billy Crystal in his 70s doing a crappy Apple show that looks like, as I said, was made by N. Day Shyamalan. It's a bit depressing. You're like, okay.
It's weird he hasn't been given the Only Murders in the Building type thing.
He is in Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, is he?
I think he has a peripheral role in
Okay.
it. But you're right.
He wasn't given that himself, though.
But no, I mean he's given that as a generous gesture by the other boys.
Yeah.
You have to wonder, would him and Robin Williams be making Only Murders in the Building if Robin had lived? You know,
the Odd Couple or something.
Yeah, like they could have been doing stuff together the way that Martin and Steve do. Now he did a TV show with another famous actor that was a two-hander about 10 years ago. And I don't think in a million years you'll be able to tell me who the other guy on that show was. There was a show on FX called The Comedians.
John Goodman.
No, younger. No. I watched it. It was crap.
Younger.
And it was Billy Crystal and a younger guy who was trying to position himself as the new Billy Crystal. And the show was
Adam Devine.
You're so close.
Am I? Oh, Jesus Christ!
And the show was about the two of them.
Yeah.
As a comedy duo, and it was pretty depressing. You're very close with Adam Devine.
He's that type of...
Slightly more successful, slightly more annoying, I'd say. Very similar type.
Oh, slightly more successful, slightly more annoying. Not like Josh Gad.
Josh Gad!
Oh, it is Josh Gad.
And Billy Crystal, The Comedians, only on FX.
Oh, my days.
That show ran for 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah.
Terrible. Billy Crystal then makes a movie with Ben Schwartz, which is called Standing Up, Falling Down or something, which is like the exact same idea again, where like Ben Schwartz goes to Billy Crystal
looking for mentorship
as a young comedian. So Billy Crystal gets stuck with these goons where Steve Martin and Martin Short have gotten themselves in this perfect situation where they're on a beloved show with a beautiful young actress that everyone loves, and it's like the ideal outcome.
It's all good vibes.
Yeah. Billy Crystal, you kind of feel bad for him. He's like a little bit left behind where like Robin Williams has died. He wasn't ever seen as part of a duo with Robin Williams, but like Robin Williams might just be the thing that could have dragged him into A-list projects in his 70s, where instead he's doing Uber Eats commercials before on Apple TV, and really the only time that he ever reemerges as the center of the culture is when he hosts the Oscars every 10 years.
Yeah.
And I have a very strong feeling, if he's up to it, health-wise, that he's going to be pulled in to host the 100th Oscars, which are coming up in 2027 or 2028, because he's like the Oscars host.
Yeah, like ultimately he's on par, despite it being a big movie star, he's ultimately on par with the cast of Schitt's Creek at this point.
A little bit, yeah.
That's kind of...
Yeah. Like, he should just be on a show like that.
Yeah.
But he's in Super Bowl commercials with Meg Ryan.
Making lots of money.
And does Meg Ryan have more integrity than having just not made any movies in the last 20 years, bar 1 or 2 that we'll discuss? Like, maybe it's actually, things are looking better for her as just kind of a semi-retiree than
She's
Billy.
She's also quite young.
She's also shockingly young. We were really surprised to learn that she is only 64. She is exactly 1 week younger than my father. And she is looking great for her age, but like also basically retired in her 40s, which is insane for someone who was so integral to American film for the whole 90s.
And was this kind of a choice thing, or did she stop getting work?
I'd say a combination of sexism towards women of a certain age. Her persona went out of fashion. Her look maybe went out of fashion. I don't know. A combination of things where she was no longer the star that she once was. And she, I think, kind of went out on top in a certain sense. Like, she didn't let herself like burn out in crap.
Maybe the 80s charm didn't translate to 2005.
That's what I'm thinking. But like, her 2000s are actually really interesting. We'll get to it in a sec. But anyway, this movie is very much a real like features frequently on the people's top 4 on Letterboxd.
It's like one of the staple movies.
Yeah, one of the staple movies, and
movies.
I don't think it quite deserves that place, but I would say that about most of the staple movies. I'm a contrarian after all. I have absolutely no ill will towards it. I think it is very well intentioned, endearing, good vibes all around. Flies by, very brisk. 95 minutes feels like a really quick movie. I don't, however, have any desire to watch it a third time, having seen it twice now, and I don't find the characters or the relationship in it to be something that frequently springs up in my heart as something I love from the history.
You don't refer your personal life back to, oh, this is just like when Harry met Sally.
No, although one could.
Probably could.
One could, but it's not the most compelling depiction of this type of relationship I've seen in a film, so why would I? It's just got a little bit too much in common with Annie Hall and other Woody Allen films, and I find, and I say this with so many quotation marks around it, that Woody Allen's persona in those films is more relatable to me than Billy Crystal in When Harry Met Sally.
Sure.
And I think that makes a lot of sense, and I stand by it. But you hadn't seen this before.
I hadn't, and this never gets into like pathetic territory or like real kind of breakdown of either character. No. It's like generally positive and everyone's kind of on good terms and arguments are never...
No, they behave like adults.
They behave like
adults. Which is nice, yeah.
It is nice.
I can see why it's a comforting watch for people. Because
absolutely.
It demonstrates a certain kind of like mature adult behavior that is actually quite refreshing.
They're reasonably well able to talk through their problems, but they don't have the kind of stubborn arrogance of the Marriage Story couple either.
Absolutely, yeah. They dress very well.
They do.
They're introduced at kind of a pivotal post-college age, and then it basically watches them kind of age into their late 30s, early 40s, which is a nice... It's nice to watch people living in New York with good jobs, earning money in their 30s. It's like a reassuring, like, yes, I can see why people our age watch this, and it's something of an aspirational story of here's how you get your life in order.
I do enjoy the kind of mildness of the idea of this relationship that pops in and out every 5 years, but doesn't like derail your life when it shows
back
at all.
It never gets so intense until the very end.
And it never actually like disrupts either of their other relationships or marriages and stuff. And it's kind of it's nice that sometimes when someone drifts away, that life is kind of fluid and people can pop back in and pop back out, and
absolutely
the timing of things is relative, and nothing's a dead end ever.
No, not at all.
And it's comforting that way.
Like, I think there's so much stuff made in the last 10-15 years that captures that idea so well that I guess I feel speaks more to me. We talked about it on our episode last week. Girls, Lena Dunham's HBO series, one of my favorite things of this century. Such a great show, and really has a similar thing of like, she has a relationship with this person in the first season, and in the 5th season, he comes back, and you're revisiting these things.
And it's nice that there's an idea there that you can... Basically, you still have the same attitudes in your late 30s as you do in your early 20s towards excitement towards people.
Yes.
I think sometimes when you're in your mid-20s, you can be like, oh shit, maybe that goes away.
Yes. I think this film is very self-conscious of the idea that it is posing this really interesting, inventive question. Can men and women really be friends, or does heterosexuality get in the way? And then this, as a result, it has a secondary question, which is, if you have sex with someone, can you still be friends with them afterwards? So the first question is a bit sillier than the second question, I think.
Yeah.
The first question is a real like 1989, like ooh,
men are animals with instincts, and
it's so like, it's not. I don't even want to be mean and be like, it's so outdated. What were they thinking? Like, because clearly Billy Crystal himself, who was involved in the writing of the script and spoke to Nora Ephron while she was writing it, sounds like he felt like this was an issue for him, and he was like, I don't have any extremely close friendships with women because of this. And it's like, I do think that's something that generationally has aged out of being true. I also think it's incredibly heteronormative, and like, this film does not acknowledge the existence of gay people, but it's not relevant, but it's relevant to that silly question. But then the second question, which is basically halfway through the film, 2/3 of the way through the film, these two sleep together.
Yeah.
And then they are like super awkward the next day, which is, yes, normal and the way that would be in real life. The film, in my opinion, would be more interesting if it then took it in the direction of they are able to restore an equilibrium of normalcy to their friendship, and they end up being friends for life. Unfortunately, the film is a little bit too interested in the cliche and goes for the ending of, but actually they're in love and they end up together on New Year's Eve.
And this is inevitable in what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Did this film do damage to the male-female relationship?
Yes, I think it did. I think this film would be so much more powerful and just as beloved if it ended with them not getting together. I don't think that them getting together at the end is crucial to why people love this film. I think that it's all of the in-between stuff and the bickering and the working out of the complicated relationship that people like so much. And the ideal way to finish that would be, no, they don't get back together. I'm trying to think of films. So there's an episode I don't want to talk about Girls so much, but there's an episode of Girls where Alison Williams' character meets Christopher Abbott's character again a couple years after they broke up, and they spend a beautiful day together, reconnecting and falling back in love. But then at the end of the episode, they're like, no, that's not going to work. And it's the way this film should end, of like, yeah, like we can do something else with this.
But they don't ever depict any reason for them not to be together in this.
No, they don't.
They don't display any dysfunction at all, apart from just kind of.
But their relationship
bickering.
Yeah, I don't think it starts like a love story, so I don't think it should end like a love story. They meet on this passive aggressive favor road trip.
It is, but it's also like inherently flirty from the beginning.
It is, but he's so mean, and she's just about holding her patience together, and I feel like that's the basis of a good friendship and maybe not a good healthy relationship.
A fun, instructive guide onto how to tolerate an 18-hour drive with someone?
Yes, maybe.
Within the first 2 minutes, should you be nagging someone at like, tell me things?
Yeah, maybe.
Rather than just like,
maybe.
What do you want to New York for?
Maybe. But do you not think that these people with this kind of bickery relationship, which granted, we all have these with various people in our lives.
Sure.
But do you not think them getting together and getting married is going to end up in a real Charlie and Nicole in Laura Dern's Office situation with the kid 5 years down the road? Like, I feel as though there needs to be a little bit of distance between these two as a healthy friends.
I agree,
given
but
how
at the same
stubborn they are with each other.
I agree, but if at a certain point is it like, this is constantly going to be a thing in the background that it will disrupt them from finding partners in the future.
Maybe, but that's for them to figure out. And that's for each of us to figure out in our own lives. If you think about someone who's making films about, interesting relationships now, of course, my beloved Cooper Raiff, who's made 2 feature films. The first one, Shithouse, ends with the couple getting together, which I like. The second one, Cha-Cha Real Smooth, they don't, right? I
haven't seen it.
Oh, right. I think his character ends up kind of accepting that Dakota Johnson's a little bit too old for him, and she has a partner who's her own age and all this, and he kind of just like goes off and does his own thing. And I think it's interesting where a filmmaker is obviously interested in this idea of, but he kind of bounces back and forth between the two. I actually don't really have anything else to say on that matter. Anyway, it's got this very prominent place as well in like autumn core fashion and social media culture.
I very frequently rock the knit sweater, blue jeans look.
The knitwear in the film is unimpeachable, and I will say nothing bad about it. However, I do think it's funny that a film with quite a cynical and snarky attitude has slotted into the Gilmore Girls position of Instagram dump of autumn, where you have your pumpkin spice latte, leaves on the ground, some Halloween thing, some trees that have gone brown, you in your nice sweater.
You're in a diner drinking a milkshake or something.
And then there'll be a shot of someone's TV with fairy lights around it with When Harry Met Sally playing. And it's like, this film would laugh at you for doing that. I don't know. I feel as that, like, I don't want to be like, oh, these people are such posers, but like, I do think this film is like cynical and mean-spirited and kind of eyebrow raising.
Why are you doing that? Why are you with that person that does this annoying thing?
In a way that I respect and that speaks to me, but I don't understand then why people have embraced it as like, this is such a nice autumn film. I don't think this film is like autumnal at all, other than the clothes. We're talking about it in March, and it played great. I don't know. This is just a pet peeve of mine. I'm just annoyed at people's Instagrams. Ignore me.
Yeah.
I respect and hear all of you who choose to include this in your autumn Instagram dumps. However,
the aesthetic of it is
out of it.
Cool and has lasted well.
Sure. This film is written by Nora Ephron, who passed away in 2012. Great screenwriter and director, and this is her first big hit. She was a journalist and a writer, and her books still fly off the shelves as kind of core texts of being a young woman living in a big city life, I feel like. But she writes a bunch of big movies like Silkwood and Heartburn, and a lot of them are inspired by her own life and those lives of her around her. And this film seems to be largely inspired by Rob Reiner and his divorce and single life that followed. The Billy Crystal character is quite inspired by that. But then she starts directing straight after this, and she directs basically Meg Ryan's two biggest films after this, Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail, both co-starring Tom Hanks. These are, of course, films we could discuss in this podcast if we wanted to, neither of which I'm that keen on. Don't really like either of them as much as When Harry Met Sally.
Could either of them have featured Billy Crystal instead of Tom Hanks?
That's a good question. I guess no, I don't think so. The characters in both of those films are very Tom Hanksy characters. Tom Hanks is a very earnest and warm individual in a way that Billy Crystal is not. It's the difference between someone who's a movie star and someone who's a stand-up comedian turned actor. Now, Tom Hanks was offered the role in When Harry Met Sally, and so was Michael Keaton, and so was Richard Dreyfuss. So was Albert Brooks, who turned it down because he said that it was too reminiscent of Woody Allen's work. You're telling me. But I think Tom Hanks would not work in this film. His vibe is way too gentle for this acidic character. Nora Ephron also directed the movie Mixed Nuts with Steve Martin, which is a very early role for Adam Sandler. Yeah. She directs the John Travolta angel drama, Michael. And she directs the John Travolta, Uma Thurman comedy Lucky Numbers, Bewitched with Nicole Kidman, and her final film is 2009's Julie and Julia, a great boy party, Meryl Streep, Amy Adams, and then she died quite young. But she wrote this fantastic script. Rob Reiner is a filmmaker I kind of hope we don't have to talk about much in this podcast because most of his movies are boring, but he did direct a few kind of seminal boy parties, namely A Few Good Men and Rain Man. Sorry, he didn't direct Rain Man. Barry Levinson directed Rain Man. Apologies. But he directed A Few Good Men. He directed The American President, The Princess Bride, Stand By Me, This Is Spinal Tap. I mean, these are A-list films. Yeah. His career in the last sort of 10 years has turned into exclusively making Woody Harrelson films that get released by fake distributors, like the LBJ biopic Shock and Awe.
Sorry, what?
LBJ it's called, and then he made Shock and Awe.
LeBron James.
And he has kind of just finished making his probably biggest film in years, which is Spinal Tap 2, which is coming out this year. And
that's a real thing that appears in your Facebook group. That
I know, but it's real, and it's out in September. So, Reiner's back, baby. That film is being released by Bleecker Street Entertainment. Who also released Meg Ryan's most recent film. But anyway, that's Rob Reiner, and I don't really like him. But anyway, Billy Crystal, as we were saying, is someone who coexists as a film actor and also as a TV personality, Oscar host, blah blah blah. He's had a weird on and off in terms of his film performances, where he took a big break after his kind of peak, which was the two City Slickers movies, Mr. Saturday Night. We were watching a few of the trailers last night, guys. Some of these films are weird. Forget Paris with Deborah Winger looks pretty good, but then he makes My Giant, which is him and the weird giant Romanian NBA player, Georg Mureșan. And it's just a film about what if like a slimy agent found a giant and pimped him out as an actor.
I guess the man, Mr. Giant himself, is 7'7" in real life, and I really don't think he was scaled up in this at all.
No, I don't think so. So it's funny to put him and Billy Crystal together. 1999, he makes a classic boy party. Analyze this with Robert De Niro. The joke of that movie is, what if Robert De Niro played a mobster who had to go to therapy, and his shrink was a neurotic Jewish psychotherapist, Billy Crystal. Yeah. So it's the Gabagool versus the Mike Wazowski thing, and he follows that up, of course, with Mike Wazowski in 2001. Goes without saying that his box office tally is heavily skewed towards the two Monsters, Inc. films. Where are you out on Mike Wazowski? One of your guys?
I think as a 6-year-old, I developed a ranking of
your favorite Billy Crystal movies.
No, not favorite, but there was a merit order to the animated franchises of my childhood, and I think now this is not the opinions I hold today.
Okay,
but I think this is in order of like which DVD I got first.
Right.
And if you asked me to line up my DVDs in order as a kid, which way would I have ordered?
I was doing that every day. Yeah, go ahead.
I would have gone Shrek.
Okay.
Then Ice Age.
Yeah, we're crazy. Okay.
Then Toy Story.
Right.
Then probably like Madagascar, then Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
Monsters Inc. was not like a franchise I engaged with.
No. I mean, I don't like Monsters Inc. that much.
No.
But I do think it's funny that they get to this point. So Robin Williams obviously breaks the seal in Aladdin, and then they're like, every animated movie has to have
a
comedy stars.
yeah.
Tim Allen is Buzz Lightyear. You got your Ants with Woody Allen, which is the most insane that this ever gets. And then you've
Ray
got
Romano
and Dennis Leary and John Leguizamo, and then you get to Monsters Inc. and you get John Goodman and Billy Crystal. Thankfully, they never stopped doing this.
No, never. We got Jack Black as Kung Fu Panda.
We got Will Smith in Shark Tale.
Everybody's in Sing.
Alec Baldwin is the boss baby.
Yeah.
Steve Carell is Despicable Me. I mean, but I do think it kind of maybe it loops back from comedians to like popular actors, which is slightly healthier.
Yeah.
I'd rather, anyway, it doesn't matter. They do analyze that. He pops up in a few other things, but he doesn't make a real movie then from like the early 2000s until, apart from his small role as Jerry in Tooth Fairy, which is uncredited, until Parental Guidance in 2012, where it's like, which is the most like boomer bullshit, like,
oh, it's insane.
Oh, kids these days, they're so dumb, they're so pampered, like a horrible film with him and Bette Midler.
No, and unfortunately, children have only gotten worse since.
They have, so this film's completely out of date. They could do it today, and I'd probably agree with half of what they say.
Yeah.
Monsters University quickly follows, and then he does that Ben Schwartz movie, and really just isn't working all that much apart from this Apple show.
Monsters University is a film that gets further and further away in time quicker than any other film.
Right? Yeah. No, I agree.
Like Monsters University, that came out in like 2017.
13.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I knew it was 13.
But by the time we went to university, it had already been in circulation for a couple of years as just default film that they'll show on a college campus because it's college themed.
Sure.
Not very good. Whatever. He's Steve Martin is probably the closest comp in terms of who we've discussed before as just like guy who will always be on television, and SNL 50 will have him on, blah blah blah.
Billy Crystal have any association with SNL?
He is, and he was depicted in the film Saturday Night by a young actor who did a fabulous job impersonating him.
Oh yes,
hanging out in the hallways.
Yeah, he was hanging out in the hallway.
Yeah, so he popped up a lot on SNL in the early years, and that was a big part of his early career. And yes, the guy who plays him in Saturday Night is great. Yeah. But he's almost 80 and he's doing well, so he's looking healthy. He
looks better now than he did in Parental Guidance, where he looks like John Travolta in Face Off.
I don't consider myself a fan of his. I think you like him more than me.
I am very neutral on Billy Crystal. I'd never be excited to see him. I don't go yes, Billy Crystal's doing the Oscars. No. You're pretty neutral on this film as a whole.
I am. Meg Ryan I do like, but I'm having to learn to like Meg Ryan. I feel like as a child I was taught that Meg Ryan was annoying and bad, and this is the same thing I was taught about Julia Roberts. I think that women of their generation took a disliking to them because they were being probably force-fed a new Julia Roberts or Meg Ryan comedy every 6 months throughout the 90s.
Yeah.
And it became exhausting. I mean,
this obviously isn't the opinion you organically developed. This is probably fed to you by the culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But there's no female star today who is in 2 mainstream films a year because they don't make that many films anymore. So there's no one that we get. Okay, I do feel like culture is oversaturated with Sydney Sweeney in the last 18 months, but she's only been in 3 films. Total.
And you're also not watching half the horror rom-com.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't feel as though she's getting in my way that much, even though I haven't particularly any interest in her. But Meg Ryan obviously was just in everyone's face all through the 90s because she was in 2 to 3 movies.
Yeah, the only person who knew that now is Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, exactly. I do feel that way about Willem Dafoe. It's funny, isn't it?
The fatigue is setting in.
It's crazy. But her first film, you're not going to believe this, was directed by George Cukor, who made The Philadelphia Story.
Oh,
his last movie, Meg Ryan is in. So that's
incredible.
The first film she makes. So she got to work with him, which is really, really fun for her.
It set her off on a Katharine Hepburn trail where she proceeded to win 4 Oscars.
I know. No Oscar nominations for Meg Ryan.
Yeah.
Nuts. She's her third film is Top Gun. You'd forget she's in Top Gun. She plays Carol Bradshaw. And I remember watching Top Gun for the first time before Maverick came out and being like, is that Meg Ryan? I guess it is. When Harry Met Sally is 7 or 8 years into her career, follows it up quickly with Joe versus the Volcano, which is her first Tom Hanks collab. Then she's in those other Efron Hanks movies that we already discussed. I really like French Kiss, which is her and Kevin Kline, which I mentioned on our last Vegas episode, because Kevin Kline has a big fake mustache and he's playing a French guy, and she and he have a lot of fun chemistry in that. But by the time you're watching that, she already looks a lot older than she does in When Harry Met Sally, because I think it's just styling her a bit older. Her haircut's very different. Like, what's amazing about When Harry Met Sally is that she really plays like a 10 to 15 year age span very, very successfully. I think she passes for every age that she plays in this film. No real effort needed.
Yeah.
The hair changes and the style changes, and she's very good at following that timeline where Billy Crystal is maybe a little bit like, oh, you're not really this age.
Yeah.
But like,
he obviously settles into it as it moves later in the film. Like,
he does settle into it. I mean, yeah, because he looks old. That's the problem. Yeah. But I haven't seen a lot of her films in the 90s, but there's a few I've seen that I don't love. Addicted to Love, the Griffin Dunne movie, I'm not a big fan of. But then 1998, she makes a film I'm quite fond of, which is Brad Silberling's City of Angels, where Nicolas Cage plays an angel, and she is his girlfriend, and this is the movie that produces the beloved song Iris by Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah.
I like this film. It's an American remake of Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire. It's real, like, lots of cool shots of angels standing on LA rooftops from overhead. It just has a really, like, epic atmosphere to it, and like weird spooky angel romance, and I like it a lot. And I think it's Meg Ryan's best performance. I think her and Nicolas Cage have great chemistry and should have worked more together.
Meg Ryan has her fingerprints on some of the most kind of timeless, cheesy pop culture things.
Yeah, it's funny. All from like a 10 to 15 year window as well. 2003, she makes her probably best attempt at an Oscar nominated role, which is she is the lead in Jane Campion's film In the Cut, which is a really weird film. I really want to love In the Cut. I've watched it twice now. I can't get into it. It's basically like it's like a female abuse trauma thriller. It's like something that David Fincher would make, but from a very female filmmaker perspective.
Okay.
And it's her and Mark Ruffalo and Kevin Bacon, and I know there's people who like think this is like a masterpiece, and I really want to like it, but I find it a little bit unimpenetrable. It's got a really weird like kind of sullen atmosphere that I find.
Do you just find it off-putting, or is it structured in a non-engaging way?
I find it off-putting. It's a bit Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and it's structured in a bit of a weird way as well. Like, I feel this way about a lot of Jane Campion's films. I felt this way about Power of the Dog as well, to be honest. But it's like a famous commercial flop. Although I'm looking here, 23 million on a 12 million budget, but like I feel like it has a cult following. But it's probably most people who know about cinema's kind of default answer for what is Meg Ryan's best dramatic performance. She's in a movie in 2004 called Against the Ropes, where she plays like a sexy boxing coach lady, which is just a bit silly, and is the last thing I ever remember seeing her on a poster for. In 2008, she makes a movie called The Women with Annette Bening and Eva Mendes and Deborah Messing, which is a bit of a girl party, and then does not basically make a major movie until ever again. In 2023, she's in a Bleecker Street release called What Happens Later, which is an airport rom-com with her and David Duchovny, and that is the only film she has been the lead in the last 15 years. She directed a film called Ithaca in 2015, which starred her son, who we'll mention, Jack Quaid, Sam Shepard, Hamish Linklater, and Tom Hanks pops up in a small role. That's an adaptation of Willem Saroyan's The Human Comedy. Like, she's obviously interested in interesting stuff, but that film does not exist. Jack Quaid is, of course, her son with Dennis Quaid, and Jack Quaid is now becoming a major movie star. He had a film out this weekend, Novocaine. He starred in Companion a month ago. He's in Oppenheimer. He's on The Boys. Hasn't won me over yet. Find him a little bit smug and annoying.
Sure.
He reminds me
Did Novocaine get a cinema release?
It did, and it did not do well at the box office.
Okay.
He reminds me more of his horrible smug father than he does of Meg Ryan, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't like Dennis Quaid, and I don't like Jack Quaid either yet. But he has time to win me over. There may very well be a time soon where I say I was wrong about Jack Quaid. But it's funny that Meg Ryan has produced one half of a very successful Nepo baby star, because I feel like it may inadvertently help to pull her back into the highest echelons of popular culture.
She's not still with
No,
Mr.
her
Quaid.
and Mr. Quaid were together from 91 to 01.
He's not a particularly nice person from what I gather.
Not at all. He's a Trump supporter and seems like a dickhead.
Yeah.
She hasn't been remarried since. Fair play to her. She probably better off. But yeah, she's still young. She has time to make a big rebound. We saw what happened with Demi Moore this year.
Oh, yeah.
I think there could be 100%.
There's a lot more positive sentiment in the movie world probably for Meg Ryan than...
Definitely. I think that there could be a great Demi Moore style comeback. Oscar nomination, the works. Probably not for a
body horror
by a French director, but something interesting that we won't see coming that isn't just a fake. Like, don't put her in a movie with Tom Hanks in their 60s or 70s. I don't want to see
She
that.
doesn't need to be in here.
No. Like, I think her and Hanks doing something together now with Nora Ephron dead would be depressing. I don't want to see that. It would be crap. It would be
It's
like
a weird,
here.
Probably studio would love it, cash in.
Yeah. Like the same as here was the Forrest Gump reunion. You don't want that. So keep away from that. But
have Hanks and Robin Wright ever presented together?
interesting. Yeah, that would be a good one, right? See, the thing with Hanks is they'll always just let him do it on his own.
That's the thing.
But I would like to see him do it with Denzel or with her
Yeah.
or with any of his leading ladies. Or with Meg Ryan. Why not? All right. So, will we do the box office for the
box
year
office.
when this film came out, which is, of course, 1989. You can tell I'm checking the date, folks. Yes, 1989. This film was nominated for 1 Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Would you like to hear who it lost to? It did, of course, lose to Dead Poets Society, starring Robin Williams. Also nominated, Woody Allen's Crimes and Misdemeanors, Steven Soderbergh's Sex, Lies, and Videotape, and one of the greatest screenplays of all time, Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee.
Yeah.
An utter disgrace that Dead Poets Society won. Best Picture that year, of course, goes to Driving Miss Daisy.
Oh, jeez.
And
Was Do the Right Thing nominated for Best Picture?
it was not. No.
my days.
But Jim Sheridan was nominated for Best Director.
Okay.
Yeah, for My Left Foot. Anyway, what are the highest-grossing films of 1989?
This is a remarkable slate of intellectual properties.
Oh wow, I do
My
love intellectual
days.
properties. Okay, is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade on here?
Yep, number one.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
There we go.
that's a big. That's like the end of the 80s.
This is
symbolized.
all like...
Yeah, all big stuff. Okay.
I think everything here probably, bar one, got a sequel or a remake.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Top Gun's not this year though.
Nope.
No, Top Gun's a little bit earlier. Okay. Right. What's number 2?
One of the biggest franchises ever. Like redone multiple times.
Die Hard. Redone multiple times.
Rebooted multiple times.
Right. Okay. Action.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Terminator 2 Judgment.
No.
Rocky.
Multiple people have portrayed this
Multiple
character.
people have portrayed this character.
Yeah.
Interesting. Who the character? Oh, this film is Batman.
Batman.
Lovely.
Yep.
Covered on this podcast. Our lowest listened episode ever.
Despite it being a good film.
Yeah.
Next up, a sequel. Kind of definitive 90s.
Definitive
90s franchise.
Interesting.
Not something we're super high on.
Home Alone? No.
Did I say 90s or 80s?
You said 90s.
80s.
Definitive
Sorry.
80s.
Definitive 80s.
Back to the Future Part 2.
Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah, no interest. Okay. Zemeckis.
Next one got a... I'm pretty sure this got a sequel. This is a comedy thing that involves maybe some...
Babies?
Yeah.
Look who's talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the babies talk in that?
They do.
They do
Well,
talk
no.
in that.
We hear their inner monologue.
We hear their... yeah, that's what I was trying
and
to
it's
figure
the
out. I
voice
couldn't
of
remember.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And John Travolta is in the
John
film.
Travolta is
But Bruce
the-
Willis is the voice of the baby.
Sure.
The Boss Baby really stole that idea. Anyway.
Next up,
Yeah.
we talked about it a good bit on this podcast already.
We talked
This
about it
episode.
We talked about it a good bit on this already.
Yeah, like Oscar mentioned like a couple of minutes ago.
I'm already blanking what that was. Oh, the thingy, the what you call it? No, I can't remember for the life of me what it was. It was whatever won Best Original Screenplay, right?
Yeah.
Wow, I have got short-term
No.
memory loss.
We'll give you breathe for 5 seconds.
I know this much. The writer was different to the director.
Sure.
Because whoever won that screenplay Oscar was not the director of this film.
Okay.
What was this film? I don't know. Dead Poets Society.
Dead Poets Society.
There you go. Peter
You just
Weir
need
did
a
not
second,
win
yeah.
the screenplay Oscar. Yeah.
Next up, A sequel.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I need more than
it was
that.
Something Two.
Something Two.
It features two boyos, as far as I'm aware.
Two boyos.
I think I get this.
Lethal Weapon 2.
Lethal Weapon 2.
Okay.
I was going to say this is an iconic theme, but I think I'm thinking of Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Eddie Murphy. This is Gibson,
Gibson
and Glover.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Richard Donner movies. No interest.
Next up, this has a bit of punctuation in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Comma. Exclamation point. Comma. Something. And something.
Comma, multiple words.
Something. Comma. Multiple words. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
No.
Fuck. Of course not. Oh God, I don't know.
It's a phrase you would say to someone else.
Stop or my mom will shoot.
No. A phrase you would say specifically to a specific. You're talking to a specific person.
You're talking to a specific person.
Yeah.
Hello, it's nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operation.
No,
I don't know.
you're talking to your wife.
Hello, you're my wife.
No.
No, I don't want to wash the dishes. Tell me, I'm going crazy. What is it?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Yeah, I was never gonna get that. All right, enough.
The tagline for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was the most astonishing, innovative backyard adventure of all time.
Yeah, starring a man, Rick Thingy.
Oh, that guy.
Rick Moranis. A movie star I have no relationship with whatsoever. There's someone we'll never discuss in this podcast.
I'll give you the next. I'll
He's
round
retired.
up top 10.
Yeah.
With The Little Mermaid,
Sure.
Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
Then we got License to Kill as number 10.
This is the nadir of American filmmaking, folks.
Yeah.
Right.
Harry Met Sally trickle in there, number 17 in the year.
Letterboxd top 4 game. All right. So now it wasn't that hard to find people with when Harry Met Sally in the Letterboxd top 4. Let me tell you, folks.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a Letterboxd user here with the name of Gemma Robotham. And,
oh, wow.
She has got When Harry Met Sally in her top 4.
What a weird name.
Yeah, so I'm going to get you to guess her top 4 Letterboxd films. This
Yeah.
is a very rare case where we can actually do somebody that we know for this game.
Yeah.
So she's got When Harry Met Sally.
Has she been a guest?
She has not, but she friended the show. She got When Harry Met Sally in 4th place.
Yeah.
So I want you to guess the other 3. So our first one is from 1995. And I will say all of these films are consistent with one another.
Yeah.
Tonally and thematically.
About relationships.
About relationships. They're all very good. 1995 tagline, can the greatest romance of your life last only one night? This is a film that has...
Before Sunset?
Before Sunrise.
Before Sunrise.
I'll give it to you. Yeah. Okay. Number 2, we have got a film from 1987. The director of this film is someone that I have exchanged emails with this year. Sorry, he didn't direct this. He wrote this. Excuse me. I'll tell you the director. The director is Norman Jewison. This film has the tagline Life, Family, Love. This film won the Oscar for Best Actress, and it also stars an actor who is one of my favorites. He is the male love interest in this, but it's female lead, and she's a very, very famous woman, and she won an Oscar for this, and she's probably never nominated ever again.
Still alive?
Still alive, still working.
Is the male lead still alive?
Yeah, he's doing great, working away.
How old were they when this was made? What age is the couple here?
They're like in their late 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, apparently she's playing a 37-year-old, but she definitely wasn't 37 in the 80s. Yeah, this film, I don't know what to say. It's got...
Have I seen it?
No.
No.
I don't think so. 250,000 logs.
Yeah.
Surprisingly low. I feel like this is very beloved. I tell you the writer?
No.
I'll tell you. Written by John Patrick Shanley. The man who wrote the line, I have doubts, I have such doubts.
Oh, yes.
I'll tell you, the man in this is Nicolas Cage. And the woman is better known as a singer.
Nicolas Cage and a singer.
Yeah, very famous singer.
Very famous.
Yeah, this is the Lady Gaga in, Star is Born of her day.
This is ringing a bell for me.
She occupies a space between Streisand and Gaga in the history of singers turned actresses. Yeah.
Ah, shoot.
Yeah. Also in this movie, Olympia Dukakis, who won Best Supporting Actress for it, I think, and John Mahoney, and I don't know.
Who was the singing lady in
Life,
the 80s?
Family, Love. This movie probably has a lot of pizza in it, pasta.
Something Italian?
Very Italian, American vibes, yeah.
I think you're just going to have to tell me.
The movie is Moonstruck with Cher.
Okay.
Moonstruck.
Yeah.
All right. Sense. And then third on Gemma's favorite 4, we got a film from 2012. This is by a director that we talk about a lot.
2012.
And stars an actress we talk about a lot. The tagline is, I'm not Is this really the tagline? I'm not messy, I'm busy. I've never heard that before in my life. That's not a tagline. I don't think this movie has a tagline. Anyway, this is a film that idiots on TikTok would describe as having big A24 vibes. It's from 2012. It's a great film by a great filmmaker.
Okay.
And down the cast list, we have.
Is this like an Anne Hathaway vehicle of
No.
Am I way off?
You're not way off, but like, no.
One of her contemporaries.
Smaller, lower budget. This is an independent film. People in it like Meryl Streep's daughter, Grace Gummer, Michael Esper from
The Newsroom season 2.
Yes, from Grace Gummer.
It's
Mamie Gummer. Mamie Gummer's in Newsroom season 2.
Right. Have I seen this?
No, I don't think so. But you'd be very happy to watch it. I'm sure if I put it on. It has 700,000 logs, 25,000 fans. That's a great ratio. Wow.
Won an Oscar?
No. I don't. Maybe he's got a screenplay nomination, but
Did you tell me the director already?
I didn't. The director is like one of the most discussed directors by you and me ever.
Oh.
This is a director that we have discussed 4 films by on
Sean Levy.
No. We have discussed 4 films by this director across this podcast and our previous podcast.
PTA.
Nope.
No?
No. We talk about this guy so often. Not this film, though. We've never done an episode on this one.
Who are our guys?
I don't know what to tell you. Okay, I'll give you a big clue. The director is married to the lead actress in real life.
Oh, Baumbach
And Gerwig. Frances Ha. And then 4th. She's got When Harry Met Sally.
Very good.
Very good. That's Gemma's top 4. All right. Thank you for tuning in to Boy Party. I'm sure we've just shat all over many of your favorite film. But I did say...
We're generally positive.
We're generally positive.
Unlike you, I would happily watch this again.
Good.
I find it an easy watch. The numbers were given funny stats saying that 99% of the box office of this film was domestic.
That's because the international box office from the 80s is just not.
No one's ever bothered. It's unreliable.
No one's ever bothered to upload it there.
Fair enough.
I think the thing is, I sometimes find this era of filmmaking in America very tough to crack because I was raised by people who were very cynical about it and think that 80s American cinema is trash. And I find it hard to get over that hump sometimes myself.
I mean...
Which I should try my best, but I do try my best.
Is the 80s one of our lowest watched?
I think it is. I have no affection for most 80s stars. You're talking about people like Michael J. Fox and Charlie Sheen, and it's like people I'm not interested in, you know? The 70s is amazing, the 90s things get better, and then the 2000s I'm a child, and I love everything. So
were there distribution lags in the 80s between releases in the States and Ireland?
There were up until the 2000s. For sure.
Yeah.
No one was getting an American film in Ireland until 6 months after.
Really? Yeah.
Up until the late 90s. Yeah. We'll be back next week with another great boy party. You can check out last week's episode on Marriage Story, which is a really fun chat. I think you'll enjoy. All of our episodes are available at boypartypod.com. You can follow the show on Instagram and Blue Sky Boy Party Pod. And we'll be back next week for another party. Get home safe. Bye-bye.